You know what? Take the saddle off and then cut off the okay. That works. So take the saddle off, cut the saddle like this. Now what will be the shape that you will get when you cut this plane?
A U?
It will be like a U, right? It will be a shape like this. And where you are sitting is this, right? So what is this shape? What is this curve? Now if that location is it a minimum or a maximum? It's a minimum, right? Perfect. Now take the same saddle, or if you already cut it, glue it back. And then take a plane and cut it right down the middle. Right? Like this. Exactly where you're sitting. Basically plane perpendicular to this. Make sense? If you cut that plane, what will the shape look like? It will look like this, right? Yeah? Because that's where you're sitting. You have one leg is here, one leg is there, right? Yeah? And so is that point, what is it? Is it a maximum or a minimum? It's a maximum, right? So that's why it's a saddle point. It's a saddle point because at least along one curve, it's a minimum, along another curve, it's a maximum. And it's called a saddle point. Why? Because it looks like a saddle, right? Okay, yeah.
So if you take a derivative of f of x or f of y and you said equals 0 and f of x and f of y are a function of x and y, how would you solve that?
Well, you have to solve two equations, two unknowns. I mean, you solve them the way you usually solve equations.
Nature?
It depends. I mean, some equations they have to be solved numerically. Two equations, two unknowns, right?
Right.
If they're linear equations, yeah, you don't need matrix, just elimination. But if the equations are non-linear, you just solve them numerically. Yeah.
Are we looking into this calculus stuff because we're about to like talk about equations with two variables?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So remember, optimization in reality is never even one variable. It's never even two variable. Chemical industry optimization will always be far too complex, right? And that's why you will eventually almost always just use software to do it. But nonetheless, it's good if you have some basic understanding of what the software is doing, right? That's why we started with one variable optimization. We did some examples of that. When you do a one variable optimization, you are basically restricted to doing it on a single unit operation. Yeah?
If you had like a number of variables, would it have like fx equals 0, fy equals 0, x equals 0, and then a determinant of like 3 by 3?
Yes, but exactly at that you can basically derive yes by essentially doing a Taylor series expansion in three variables. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. So now let's do an example which actually sort of comes from chemical engineering. So to do that example, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to do an example. Yeah.
Sorry, the first example you did where fxx and fyy both equal 0, is there min or max, even though it's satisfied the conditions?
Yeah, because fxx was negative, right? So that's why it's a maximum.
Oh, never mind.
Because of the way we define.
Okay.
And had we taken a square root, we actually would have gotten both solutions. Okay, so now I'm going to do an example which actually, first I'm going to do an example that really is optimization in one unknown. And then I'm going to combine, I've already done an example. So last class, if you remember, I did an example where liquid is flowing through a pipe, right? And we solved for the optimum radius. Today I'm going to do, again, a pipe with an insulation on surface. We will do that one variable optimization and then I'll combine the two and you will see what I mean by that. So let's say that you have a pipe which is carrying, let's say, hot fluid and you're trying to design an insulation. Now, you may remember I've already kind of done this problem before. But last time I did the problem, I was, what was I optimizing for? Sorry? Talking about minimizing the heat loss, right? And what was our final answer? What was our conclusion?
There was no ideal insulation amount for our particular
Okay, what does that mean?
The more the better.
Exactly. The more the better. Because there was a minimum, but we discussed that that minimum is almost irrelevant in chemical industry. So really there was no minimum. I mean, there is a minimum, but the minimum is basically 0 as t goes to infinity, right? So actually, yeah, there is no minimum. The heat loss will keep going down the more you increase thickness. So in some sense, there was no optimum solution, right? Now remember, there was an optimum solution, But that solution, as I described, is explained to you. When you put variables, you realize that solution only occurs for very small pipes. So let's assume that our pipe is thick, and so that is not within our range of our parameters. Okay? So we have no optimum thickness. Then what will you do? If your boss tells you put an insulation, you'll say, ah, okay, thicker the better. I'm going to buy, I don't know, 20-meter insulation and put it on. Is that what you're going to do? Why not? Melting, why will the insulation melt? If you design it in a way it doesn't melt, otherwise if the insulation is going to melt, then you better put some insulation, right? Because otherwise that means it's so hard to touch it, you're going to burn yourself.
I wasn't thinking about the insulation level, I was thinking like for the plastic pipe, you might have to worry, or if the metal pipe would it corrode or
No, but let's just say that we need to put an insulation. So why would you not put a very, very thick insulation? Because it costs money, right? So although by putting thicker insulation, you will of course minimize your heat loss, but you're going to increase the cost. So you can see now we are optimizing again thickness, but we are not trying to minimize heat loss, we're trying to minimize our cost. Does it make sense? So it's an economic optimization. Okay? All right. So in that case, we have to, of course, come up with an expression for the cost. The cost in this case are two costs. One is the cost of the insulation. So now we are going to assume that the radius of the pipe is fixed. Okay? The radius of the pipe is fixed. Then you're only so the cost is going to be the cost of the insulation plus the cost of heat loss. Now you have to figure out the heat loss, Q. Now to simplify, so I'm going to assume that this thickness is much less than the radius of the pipe. Okay, which actually is a fairly reasonable assumption, again for most chemical industry because your pipes are fairly thick. If it is not, you can still solve the problem, just the mathematics becomes a little bit more complicated. So the heat loss can also be calculated as, or the rate of heat loss can be calculated as the flux times the area, right? So the area of the pipe is 2 pi RL times the flux, right? Now, if this pipe radius is much larger than the thickness, then the surface of a pipe basically becomes like a flat surface. Does it make sense? Just like I'm sitting on an earth. Earth is actually sort of spherical, but I don't see the curvature, right? Because I'm so tiny compared to the diameter of the earth. Right? Does it make sense? So you can make the same assumption. So in that case, you think of the surface as basically flat. So in that case, the flux becomes very easy to calculate. How do you calculate flux across a flat surface? You simply remember it's going to be the thermal conductivity K, or it's going to be delta T, right? Divided by what?
Flat surface.
Sorry? Resistances, excellent. And there are going to be two resistances in this case. There's going to be actually three resistances. One is resistance to from here to here, which is convective heat transfer resistance. Well, actually, in reality, there will be four. There will be resistance within the fluid, but we can neglect that, assuming there is turbulence. So, or as we assume thermal conductivity is high, so we sort of make then the second resistance and then third resistance, right? So this resistance has heat transfer coefficient Hi, this is Ho, and let's say this thermal conductivity is K. So what is the total resistance? Total resistance is 1 over Hi plus 1 over Ho plus
K times A or something like that? 1 over K times the area.
well, K times what?
Times the area or something?
Well, first of all, if you increase K, will resistance increase or decrease? Sorry?
Increases?
So what do you think should be a relationship between resistance and K?
And should just be just regular?
What? L over K. Very good. Well, T in this case, right? Thickness.
Yeah, done.
Right? So that's the total expression for flux. And so that's the total expression for Q. Okay? All right, so now we are all set to figure out our total cost. Your total cost has two components. One is the cost of this heat that you're losing. So that is simply 2 pi RL divided by, or delta T, divided by 1 over, and let's just say 1 over H. Where 1 over H is 1 over H naught plus 1 over Hi plus T over K times the cost of energy. So let's say rho E the cost of the installation, which is going to be proportional to the amount of installation you use, which is 2 pi r L times T, and it's going to be the cost of rho I. Okay, and what else should I put? What is it that I'm missing?
Annuity.
Very good, the annuity factor. So you multiply this by R, and so that's your payroll cost. Okay? Is the capitalized cost, or what is it? What I'm writing there?
Oh.
Is the equivalent annual operating cost, basically, right? Okay. All right. So
What's
Okay.
what's that little R right there?
capitalization factor,
Okay.
right? The annuity factor, because we are distributing. So this is the capital cost. We're distributing it over every year,
Mm.
and this is the
Oh,
actual
okay.
cost, right? Okay. Good. So now you can see this cost, of course, is a function of only one unknown. Everything else is known. So it's a very easy optimization, right? You take the derivative, set it equal to 0. So let's quickly do that. So you take d cost dt equals to 0. So this will give you rho e times 2 pi r L delta t divided by what's going to be the what would be the derivative of that with respect to thickness?
It's like put a -1.
Okay, negative.
And then 1 over h plus 1 over k. Square down.
What else?
1 over k.
Excellent. The next term, of course, is very simple. R rho I. And this thing has to be equal to 1. Right? Okay, easy enough. We can solve it.